Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Good keep in there on the back end. Montour alone in front. Stevenson dropped it. Daniels from the line. He bats it out of midair right there. Here's Matt. Up high to Kyle.
Kyle's created with two. Chipped away. What defense from already? One on the timer. Oh, bringing the house down.
Going into year 6 in this rivalry in the state. The weird thing about this one is that on the next day, a lot of those fans will be cheering for Nebraska on the football field. That's always been a little bit bizarre to me, but you know, it is. These rivalry games are really fun for the fans. They're not very much fun for the coach.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up, DB?
Oh man, how are things?
Oh, we're doing all right.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I know you're a little upset about my breakfast choice this morning, but
yeah, I think it's pretty lousy, and it's arguably one of the worst things that you can put in your body. But hey, because I care, and you want the caloric, sugary, whatever intake, man, you do you.
Listen, if all the NFL guys eat them, why can't I eat them?
Man, listen, I don't believe that to be true.
You don't think so?
I think it's part of a marketing deal. I think sometimes you just eat things in a pinch because you know it's not, even though you know it's not good for you. But when you train fudge. DK Metcalf eats Skittles and gummy bears. You think I ain't the poster child for America's nutrition?
I'm just taking all of my nutrition advice from DK Metcalf.
Yeah, him or Joel Embiid.
What man? You remember the story when he was early in his career, and they're like, yeah, he drinks like 1 billion Shirley Temples a day.
Yeah,
just like, wait, what?
Yeah,
is he like 12?
Did you ever see Kevin Durant's pregame of eating like Big Macs? Yeah.
Although Jordan did the same thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm just taking my nutrition advice from the greats, DB.
Is that? Because
we are genetically obviously very similar.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, right?
I mean, we're more similar than we are different, technically, scientifically.
Yeah, just a gene here and a gene there.
Couple strands of DNA here and there. I'd be DK Metcalf.
It'd all be different. I heard that once. I keep telling myself that.
Yeah, I think I'm closer to them than I am like a dolphin. So,
yeah. Shane, I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate this. This light sucks.
We're on the light today.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
but anything for the show.
It's hurting. Is it hurting your head? Hurting your eyeballs a little bit?
Yeah.
Good morning again.
It actually is.
Do you need some of those like blue light glasses? I can get you some.
What do those do?
They kind of like filter out light so it doesn't like hurt your head as much.
Oh, I think Ryder has a pair of those for her iPad.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Natasha used to wear some when she was like in a place that had a lot of fluorescence and stuff. Kind of helped her from getting migraines.
Fluorescence is in the lights?
Yeah. It's a certain kind of like filament in there.
Why not? Oh, they're not just lights.
No, there's different. There's different kind of lights.
Yeah.
Got like LEDs.
Oh, hey, read Tim's Good Morning. That is an absolute classic.
Today, I turned 46 and haven't watched the Huskers in a bowl game in my 40s. All I want for my birthday is a win over Wisconsin Saturday.
Well, happy birthday, T-Bizzle.
He's the one that came down. He was at the live show for Illinois, I think.
Oh, then I'm Team Tim.
He's my buddy from Florida.
Oh,
the guy we took the picture with.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, Tim's a good dude.
Nice
You'd
guy.
like him. He's worked.
I do like that.
He's worked in churches and nonprofits. You'd like that guy.
Yeah, I did like him. He had a good vibe.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I talked to my buddy last night for a second too.
Yeah,
Adam AC.
Oh yeah.
Just only about 12 minutes.
He's not a nonprofit guy.
No, he's very much for profit. He's very much for profit. He's a very good measured sounding board because everybody's like losing their minds. I think it's kind of laughable, but
why is everybody losing their minds?
Oh, I mean, it's not everybody. So don't let me get on that deal. And if you find me doing that, just be like, hey man, Because I hate when people talk in extremes.
Sure.
So if you catch me doing it, just be like,
Well, that's what I was asking.
Listen, man, 12 isn't everybody, or something like that. You know what I mean? I
got to know what they're losing their minds about first, whether I agree with you or not.
So this whole thing since Indiana has been a precursor to what I think inevitably is going to happen. It is inevitable.
What's inevitable?
Roster change.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like.
Well, and Coach Rhule, I mean, we seemed like he was on his soapbox the other day, but that's what he was talking about. Yeah. Like he puts it in the frame of the walk-ons. I do think he cares about that, but he's trying to get us to understand what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's going to be 40-ish guys on this roster that aren't there next year.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe more because I don't know how the math works out with the incoming class.
It's going to be fantastic.
There's going to be a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
Gone. And it's probably –
I say you're like, oh, man.
It's going to be fantastic for the football.
It's going to be they need you just need a little bit of a cleanse.
Yeah.
And it's so early. And I know people are like, no, it's not. No, it's pretty early in a coaching tenure that I think is going to be built for the long haul, where you still have time to like go through the filtering.
Yeah.
Right? Because you compare and contrast. You're like, okay, I think I needed this. I didn't really need that. I didn't think I need as much of this. I need more of that.
Yeah.
Like you're still in that process.
And,
so, and I think he's figuring out kind of what he needs more of.
Mm-hmm. What he needs less of.
And what he needs less of. And it's okay when you're not even 2 full years in. And it's going to be everything from procedure to staff to players.
Yeah, roster.
Right? So it's just part of the deal. When you're not where you want to be, you're clearly not a finished product. So, hey man, you're just going to have to go through some change.
Can I make the argument that and I know that Coach Rhule was bemoaning some of the changes being made sort of outside their hands in the legislative process and everything like that. But like, do you think there's a part of him? Because it seems like to me, it's kind of a built-in excuse to be like, hey, we gotta purge some guys. We gotta process some guys out of the.
Now, when you say built-in excuse, what do you mean?
I mean, I think it would have been really difficult for how we were talking about the alter ego yesterday with Dana Holgerson.
Yep.
I think there's a side of Coach Rhule's personality that doesn't want to have to do that.
Yeah, for some.
Yeah, like that he doesn't want to process. He probably doesn't want to process that many guys out of his program.
For some.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, this is just my opinion, so feel free to push back. But is this one of your soft mornings? You feeling tough? You feeling froggy? You want to jump?
Depends where we get to.
All right. So I'm just going to tread lightly. No, it just depends on who you are. I think some guys.
There's probably gonna be some guys let go.
He probably would break out, skirt and pom poms.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the door hit you.
Yeah.
Or the good Lord split you. I think that's what you guys say, right?
That's not. Oh, who's you guys? I don't say that.
People other than me.
I don't. I know the phrase. Yes, you said the phrase correctly.
Did I say the phrase correctly?
He got cracked.
This dude's got a hat on over there.
It's cold out this morning.
Now we're back on the crack. Yeah, it's 26 this morning.
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
Yeah. And so I have to be careful. I need to be careful. I feel like Stephen Malachi Sipple.
It's physical. It's hard. It's cold.
See what I did there? Where I have to be careful. Some guy, like this is totally, so what you're hearing now is the total coach. This isn't the humanitarian.
Yeah.
This is the reality of.
This is not the I want to help kids. This is I want to win games.
No.
Okay.
No. What I'm desiring, I think, will help me win games. But I need this league, this sport. I think he's figuring out. While it's got X amount to do with talent, it's not near as much as he thought. That's crazy. That's a hot take. You can write that down.
Okay, elaborate for me.
So what's going to get them over the hump doesn't start with a talent ingredient. It doesn't. Not. Again, this is my opinion. I think you have to you have to clean up the culture a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think what
you can't talk this much about vibe and psyche and
just got to get
and
guys
the
that'll make
headspace
plays
and have it be about talent. It clearly isn't about talent.
Yeah, I don't think
and that's not to say you don't need better players.
Yeah.
But it's a mindset. What did he say? The man told you. He said, listen, with the Bonners, he said the Bonners and the Lloyds, and he said we got to find more players like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the guys we got to go with going forward. He told you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just listening.
The difference between where Nebraska's at and where they need to be next is not talent.
No,
Right? Like that's what you're saying, essentially. The difference, like there is a point where they will need more talent to get to where they want to go.
You always need more talent.
Right? But
I say this every year.
But the difference between where Nebraska's at, where Nebraska's been, and where they want to be, at least in the next few steps, is not a talent problem.
Yeah.
There's teams that have, and I've said this forever, there's teams that have been less talented than Nebraska that have gotten the results Nebraska would kill for.
Yeah, they got their ass whipped by one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
India.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, I don't think Indiana.
And you lost to another in UCLA.
Yeah, on paper, those teams aren't more talented than Nebraska.
Yeah.
Iowa
it happens every week.
Iowa on paper for years.
Not to Nebraska, just in general.
To everybody, right?
The more talented team doesn't always win.
Yeah, almost. I mean, that is not a hot take, I don't think, by any means. There is going to be a point, obviously, where if Nebraska wants to win and live at the level that they're talking about, they're going to need more talent. But they're not there yet where the talent is the problem. I think is what you're saying. And I agree. This is a culture, vibe, mindset, however you want to put it, right?
Yeah.
I know we get sick of the culture word sometimes, but it's a real thing.
It's for people that it's for people that are sick of the culture word, or people that like to play, that are like live in the fantasy sports world.
Yeah.
They think you just pick
go,
guys.
Go get better players.
Don't listen to those people. They can make you dumber.
The culture, once that part is fixed, then we can talk about talent.
Yeah.
But there's a reason. I mean, you want to go all the way back?
No.
All right, we won't. This is the thing that he's been talking about since he got here, especially with this year's team.
So you did go all the way back?
He's been talking about this the whole time.
Yeah.
He's been talking about the difference between what you look like on the practice field and what you look like on the game field the entire time.
Yeah, so Max asked the question, right? Because this is what everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then why Max may be like this big cockstrong dude. I'm just going to read it in a normal voice. Then why haven't Bonner and Lloyd been playing more all season? Because, Max, people make mistakes.
Yeah. Shocking.
They don't always get it right. And lots of times in jobs like this, you fall in love with things other than what is this guy actually bringing to the table. We've convinced ourselves that this happens to everybody but coaches, but it happens to coaches more than anybody because they're so blinded by, I've seen this before. I can make this be this.
Mm-hmm.
See, their sample size is tremendous, but their job is predicated on potential. So they probably make more mistakes in evaluating over the long haul under duress than anyone in America.
Yeah. I mean, well, they have to do it more.
You have to guess
right?
sometimes.
Like you're
You're guessing all the time. And you're doing it with 18 to 22-year-olds while you're recruiting.
18 to 22-year-olds, by the way, who are going to change as people from the time you recruited them to the time you need them to be what you think they're going to be.
We're in these water wets moments. Culture suffers when players can see what coaches refuse to see. That's not always the case, Max. But again, in an isolated situation, no kidding. That's what they're doing. That's why you just had a coach come in and say, hey, players and coaches fall in love with players. It happens. Like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm talking to Max, except for I don't know if Max wants his pound of flesh, but you're right. Why are you saying what everybody else knows? They told you this the other day in practice. They told you this at the press conference. Hey, man, he all but said, and I'm going to misparaphrase, guys fall in love with other players, man. And sometimes you just get blinders on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happens, Max. I'm telling you, it's amazing. I watch these guys.
He also said something else, though, too.
Would you like to go? Go ahead.
Just a little bit, real quick, and then you can continue. Because he also said something else, and I think that's, again, we've been talking about this all week. There is 77% of this that we don't see, and that's Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
He also said, hey, if you don't like what's happening, do something about it in practice. That's almost an exact quote of what Dana Holgorsen said, which to me says some of these guys that don't like what's happening in terms of playing time and things like that aren't doing what they need to do in practice to do anything about it on Saturdays.
And I think we've resigned ourselves to today because we have some names that are floating out there in the, is it called an ethos?
Yeah.
I've been wanting to use that
The
word.
ethos?
Out here in the ethos.
Yeah, just kind of in the aura, in the atmosphere.
Now we're doing too much.
We're always doing too much.
Aura. Don't think it just relates to players either. Players are going to be the natural byproduct of the fallout, but nobody's absolved of it.
Yeah. Maybe coaches aren't being good enough during the week.
You think?
Possible.
Like it's one of Max hit me with an exclamation. Max, I'm sure we're going to be boys. Max, I just want to know, did I get your voice right? Like, look, hey, he hit me with exclamation points.
I get it, DB.
All right, Max. Maybe do you think Max is short for Maximilian or Maximus?
Since Gladiator 2 comes out tomorrow, let's call it Maximus.
Can we call him Maximus?
Yeah, why not?
You know, and he may be riding with what I'm saying. He's just asking rhetorically. I don't know. But I'm going to say all this to say in this business, like sometimes you have to admit, ooh, I didn't get this right.
Yeah.
Right? You know, everybody's asking. And the names that are floating out there, okay. But at the end of the day, you could see some of this coming.
Yeah.
Let's not act like, oh, man, I'm shocked to hear this name or that name or this name, right? No way. You're not shocked to hear Malachi Coleman's name come up
Floating
of somebody
around.
that would leave, right?
Isn't that exactly what we thought in the middle of the season when they said he was going to redshirt? Didn't ever be like, oh, worried about he might transfer.
Well, and why is it so? Hear my heart, because I cheer for. I'm going to use him as an example. Okay, you guys. Oh, he's not in your Super Six, and this, that, and the other. And listen, man. Sometimes you get in these situations where the onus isn't the coach. The coach cannot be doing the right thing in some areas, and the player can still share culpability in why it's not going well. Don't make McGuire the easy target because you don't like some other things that McGuire's doing.
Sure.
Coleman's track record in high school says that this could potentially be a thing, and that was well before McGuire. He didn't even know McGuire. So leave that alone. Or some of these players that are holdovers that you're hoping you can bring along that other regimes had problems with that you thought you could utilize this, like
maybe you could fix
Reformation project because that's who you are. You couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So you have to just say, hey man, you know what? I tried this just not working out.
Yeah.
And so two things happened, I think, right? The legislation of the roster limits and what Coach Rhule has really been trying to tell us since Indiana. He couldn't contain himself. He's like the guy that had a secret, but you keep giving him chances to talk more. In Indiana, it was, man, we got to coach better. There's no question. But at some point we gotta execute better too.
Mm-hmm.
Then after Ohio State, hey, everybody talks about talent. We were right there at the end. This is gonna sound like coach speak, but we got to execute better. And then after UCLA, hey, they're winning some of their one-on-ones, right? We made some adjustments as a staff and got some things going. We got to execute better down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Then the bye week. Hey, I'm not going to throw any, I'm not going to be one of these guys that throws players under the bus, but you're going to hear the duality in my delivery because I really want to, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to, but I can't. But I've been talking about perimeter blocking, and we got to come out of some of the back ends of these runs, and we can't fall asleep in the secondary. Then USC happens, and we have another coach who wasn't sure what he was going to do, but once he got carte blanche to say, hey, fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Dana said, we glossed over it because he was so good with some other things, just simply talking. He said, and then he asked me for help. He said, I don't know. Can you help me fix it? And we didn't pay it any mind. And I'm thinking to myself, holy smokes. I feel okay now. Of course, it boils down to me because I'm selfish and insecure. But I want it to be right that he asked for help.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for us to do.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm not cutting it.
Especially when you've been good at this before. I'm
not cutting it. I need some help. 2 weeks ago, I intimated to this fan base that I was lonely and I needed some help. And I came across as weak to some.
Mm-hmm.
Our message boards lit up. He's losing it. He's losing it. No, man. Like, be proud of that dude for being an anti-stereotypical male and being able to ask for help because he's seeing it early enough where he's going to give himself a chance. And he has 89.64% of the qualities that you need in this job to succeed in Lincoln. He needs help. Okay? So you have to admit some things.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is I need help.
It's a good place to start.
Right? Can't get to AA unless you tell somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get into, I'm not getting into what you believe about AA or whatever. But like if I need help, I got to be able to go to Dr. Stark and say, man, listen, I'm on the struggle bus. Can you help your boy out?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you know how many times I had to send that text last year before I actually hit send? I typed it 15 times.
Yeah.
I ain't sending it.
Yeah.
I ain't sending
Yeah.
it. Man, you fall off the deep end and it's like, oh, damn, I should have hit send.
Yeah.
Right? He hit send in plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
I know it seems like forever, but don't put the other 11 years on this year and 3 quarters because it's a prune. He said just Max. I think I'm gonna like Max. Max is that good piece of cheese after the bad sandwich. So like don't panic. You're going to, I'm telling you, sure as I'm sitting here. It ain't just MC. Like there'll be starters that won't play this week. You're gonna wonder what the frick happened. There's gonna be new guys that play this week, and you're gonna wonder what happened. In my best TI voice, no, it's not even. I'm not even gonna do TI. I'm gonna do my other guy. Don't panic. You got time. You start at the top. You take a look at structurally what you need to do. Then it gets down to the product. Sometimes the product will play itself out. Let it. It's okay.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to Jeff Bellar from Norfolk Catholic as we continue our state football previews here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Coming up on the show today, we're efforting right now Jeff Bellar from Norfolk Catholic. At 7:45, we're going to talk to Paul Limongi from Omaha Westside. And
oh, man, is he today?
He is today. And then our guy, I know you like this guy too, Matt Turman from Omaha Skutt.
I like him.
Yeah, you like him. Then we got our very own Jacob Padilla at 8 o'clock to talk. There's a basketball game tomorrow. A couple basketball games tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have a couple good ones we'll talk to Jacob about.
Very good ones.
Brian Edwards will be at 8:45, our Vegas Insider, and then Michael Bruntz at 9 from Husker 24/7. Bruntz is already talking trash on Twitter, so that'll be a fun interview.
Is he?
Yeah, he was making fun of the
man hands.
He's making fun of the size of your mug on our graphic.
My head?
No,
my coffee mug?
Your coffee mug on our graphic there.
I don't know how they did that. That's a Sasha thing.
Shane, we got him?
Yes, we do.
We do.
We've got Coach Jeff Bellar from Norfolk Catholic here joining us now. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Coach, listen, when do you have free time to coach? I mean, I say that tongue in cheek, but man, kind of to do everything. Been there, done that. Like, are you better with time now or worse with time now that you've done this for so long?
Yeah, better. I suppose I'm a little older now. My kids are out of the house, so I have a little more time in terms of doing things. So,
Coach, as you kind of get ready for this matchup for the state championship, what are some of the things you've seen your team improve the most on throughout the season from game one until now?
well, I think offensively we're more comfortable. We have a new quarterback starting this year, and I think he's gotten more comfortable.
Yeah.
We had a couple of new offensive linemen that needed to get used to varsity football. One's a sophomore, so I think he's grown up a lot and more comfortable in terms of blocking assignments. So I think most of the time offenses get a little better as the year goes on. You get more repetitions, and your timing gets better. And those things have improved. We've thrown the ball pretty effectively this year, not like some teams that go out and throw 30 or 40 times a game. We're more of a 15 to 18 and a run-based football team and try to mix in the throws. So it's gotten better, I think, in terms of being more comfortable doing what we do.
Coach, do you like, and as I meant to call you the other day so you could send over some more huddle film, but I say that knowing that, do you like the fact that you get Bishop Neumann in a rematch? Week one was a long time ago. But I think it was a one-score game. Does familiarity breed contempt, or how are you kind of looking at it, considering it was so long ago?
Yeah, I don't mind. I knew they were going to be a good football team, and when we played, it was very even. They're really led by an outstanding running back that Nebraska has offered a scholarship to, and he was a real challenge as we faced them. And I'm sure they're doing more now. He was I think he ran 41 times against us the first game, and they have a lot of athletes. I'm sure they've improved offensively, just like we talked about. I think our kids are somewhat maybe comfortable playing them because they have played. So we've seen some of the things they do. I think maybe that helps you a little bit, but it's the same for both teams. So I'm sure we've both grown. We're probably a little different teams, as you said. That's about a season ago in terms of when we played. So, I think both teams will be familiar with each other, but it looks like it should be a very good football game.
Coach, how much can you take away from that first rematch, basically almost 3 months ago on the dot now at this point, versus kind of looking at some of their more recent games and seeing how they've changed throughout the season? Like, how do you balance that?
Well, I think you balance. We've watched a lot of their film, and then yesterday we did watch the first game just to kind of get familiar with that again with our athletes, and I'm sure they'll try to do some of the things that was successful against us, but I'm sure they've grown and evolved. They ran a lot of Wildcat a couple games ago where they just direct snapped and ran boots right at people, which you get an extra blocker when you do that, and we did not see that in the first game. So I would think, like all of us do, we throw stuff out that doesn't work as well. We ask new stuff, and it works better, and that's what you're using at the end of the year.
Coach, you guys have a kind of a rare combination. We were doing NEB preps last week, and after watching you guys, and I was talking with Jacob and Mike Sauter, you guys are very athletic, real twitchy, but it seems to hold up well against, the Battle Creeks, the Bishop, kind of some of these teams that are physical up front. That's got to start with your guys' mindset, right? Because you're not always going to be the biggest, but you guys sure are physical.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. One of the things, we've prided ourselves on really having a good strength training program for many, many years. And we tell our kids, if you're going to give up a little bit of size, you better be strong to be able to take some things on. So we've one of the things we've been able to do this year is we faced really probably the top 6 or 7 teams all in our class. Yep. We've played already. So we have faced good people, which I think helps you in terms of, being ready to play another good team. And Newman really had a good challenge in their quarterfinal and semifinal, which was teams in our district. So they faced really good teams, and so have we. So it really comes down to, I think, the 2 best teams at the end.
Coach, a lot of times people are going to roll their eyes at the word culture, but it seems like this is, I don't know how many broadcasts I've done with you in the state finals. I mean, you don't have records without it being a lot. The way you guys approach what you do, you just the teams, doesn't matter. The teams just come across like they're supposed to be there. you'd think that would be easy to coach with, but sometimes knowing that you're the benchmark can get difficult. What unique challenges is the expectations of being at state every year bring?
Well, I think, like you said, I know people want to bump us off. I do know that, and I think we have tried to build that culture, telling our kids, if you'll do this, this, and this, then we'll try to be in a situation where we can make a run to play in the championship. I don't know that you ever know that's going to happen for sure, but our kids have done a good job of that. This senior class really embraced saying, we'd like to try to get down there again and getting the younger kids on board of things. Here's what we have to do, really starting in the summer and then all fall camp long in terms of doing that type of work and putting us in this situation.
Coach, I lived in Norfolk 20 years ago, and you guys were good then, and you're still good now. So you must be doing something right. Good luck in your next state championship. I'm sure it won't be the last one. We'll probably be talking to you this time next year, but good luck, and we appreciate the time today.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
See you soon, Coach. Thanks.
That's Coach
All right, bye.
Jeff Bellar from Norfolk. That's not a joke. I was up there in 2005. Norfolk Catholic was already a wagon at that point. They just keep rolling along.
Death taxes and him winning.
He's been there almost 40 years?
Yeah.
I think.
Well, he's coached for 38. He spent some time at Pub too.
Oh, that's right.
And then came back to
yeah.
Catholic. But yeah, he's
been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
Man, they're an institution up there.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He's been Coach of the Year. He's a real one.
He's about as good as any to have ever done it in the state of Nebraska. So
I think he's got one stop. You wouldn't know. I should probably ask, but he used to be at Beaver Valley too. But I'm not sure Beaver Valley's still around.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm not an expert on some of the smaller classes, but that's not one that rings a bell as far as having heard of it recently.
Ring my bell.
Because I do check. I try and keep up on the scores and how things go and stuff like that. And that one does not ring. That one doesn't sound familiar at all.
One of the beautiful thing about us getting ready for Monday and me being on the broadcast Tuesday is I've got familiarity with.
Yeah. Well, because
I know Bennington, I know Skutt.
You're diving deep on those huddle films.
I know. It's okay though. I like it.
Oh yeah, that's like right up your alley.
We do NEB preps every week, so we,
you talk about.
I stay current.
You keep up on it a lot anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I've got to be objective, man. I got Stanton. Spend a lot of time out there. Central City. I practically live out there.
I was gonna say Central City is gonna be the hard one for you.
Yeah, Brett was like, "Hey, do you need any gear?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think that'll fly in the booth."
Put a hoodie on or something over it. Put on, the sweater vest over it, so you can rock it. Be objective still.
I'm trying to figure out what they're gonna do with Kip Brigham. Whew.
Yeah,
he can hoop too.
Yeah. I think I've seen him play basketball. I don't think I've seen him play football.
Yeah, he's nice.
See him
that whole team is
hoop it up a little bit.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a nice, a fun couple days. Starts tomorrow in Kearney with 6-man, and then it'll get rocking and rolling with the other 6 classes Monday and Tuesday. So that'll be a lot of fun. Coming up next year, we're going to talk to a guy you're familiar with, your head coach, Paul Limongi over at Omaha Westside, and then another guy you're real familiar with, Matt Turman over at Omaha Skutt. We will talk to both of those guys in the next segment, previewing the Class A and B state title games with a couple of talking about some goats here in terms of coaches this morning with Coach Jeff Bellar. We just keep that rolling right along next year with our next 2 guests. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we are joined now by the head coach of Omaha Westside, Paul Limongi. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good. Hey, this is going to sound crazy, but did you know it was our show you were talking to this time?
No, I did not.
It's awesome. I believe every word of that, too.
I did not. I wasn't sure.
Wow. Well, all right. How's the morning going? How was that drive down Dodge Street? Nice. Was it about 40 mile an hour?
Yeah, nice and slow. Good meditation. Just walked through a couple meetings this morning, so it's off to a good start.
Coach, you need a lot of meditation time when you work with DB? Is that what I'm picking up?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, I do want to know before we get to football, how do you respond? Do you respond well to being honked at?
To being what?
When people honk at you when you're not driving the speed limit down the expressway.
Oh no. Usually I don't even notice.
Shocker.
He's meditating. How's he going to notice people honking at him?
I just go and relax.
Yeah. Nice, relaxing personality. You just ooze it. How do you? You're kind of familiar with this a little bit. Is there comfort in knowing that you have kind of a set schedule that you like to do to get ready for these?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you kind of set up the week after you've done it a couple times. You kind of have a routine. And if you win, you definitely follow it and add some tweaks here and there. But but usually you kind of keep the same schedule from the last 1 or 2 times you've been there, and kind of, fit it to your team, and you just go with it. And it's a lot of fun planning it. It's an exciting time, and you just want to make sure you cover everything and leave no stone unturned.
Coach, how much of an advantage is it for you to have this experience with your team, but these specific guys, a lot of them have not been in this spot before? Like, how do you weigh kind of the advantage you've got with some institutional knowledge with the schedule or whatever, yet kind of breaking in some guys that haven't necessarily experienced it in this role yet?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with our whole culture, is that we always want to do things one step at a time. And we always talk about it being the next game is always the most important game, because it is the next game, and you want to be 1-0. So this to us is a big game, obviously, but it's just the most important game because it's the next one. And we take that philosophy all year round, whether it's practice, a meeting, fall camp, or the first game of the year, is that our kids are just used to locking into the task at hand. And obviously, you got to do a lot of coaching from all my coaches about, just visualize what you're going to do, be prepared as much as you possibly can. And that takes away a lot of the stress. The more you're prepared for it, and the more you visualize, the more you work at it. And then come Monday night, you go out and you enjoy it and you play as hard as you possibly can.
I'm just kind of used to it from being around you. I've never really asked you from a competitive standpoint, but obviously playing a football team that presents a ton of challenges, well coached, multi-dimensional, ton of weapons. You have to balance this respect for what they are, being an elite team, but then kind of instilling confidence and in your own guys to know that this is doable. How fine a line is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's you want to respect all opponents, obviously, and you want to fear none. And we talk about when we give our scouting report that they have talent, and they're confident, they have playmakers, and they're coached well, and they execute. But so do we. And what we got to do is just make sure we take care of what we can control, and we focus on us as much as possible. But at the same time, you want to understand what they're doing and how they're going to attack you, and put your players in the best possible matchups to be successful. And then you let it fly, and you try to do the simple things like physicality and execution and playing fast and fearless. And usually everything just takes care of itself. But you got to be prepared on what they're going to do and put your players in great matchups to succeed. And our coaches do an excellent job of watching film and being prepared and putting in the time. So I have full confidence that we'll be ready with the execution wise. And I think our guys are experienced enough that they come to play. And we preach that starting in January, that no matter what we're doing, we just try to outwork and go as hard as we can, and usually good things happen.
A few extra gray hairs knowing that we were so young?
What's that?
I said, did you grow a few extra gray hairs knowing that we were so young?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I see. All right. Good talk, Coach.
Coach, we appreciate the time. As always, good luck on Monday, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
See you soon.
Okay. I appreciate you guys. Thanks, Coach.
All right, buddy.
See you later.
That's head football coach Paul Limongi of Omaha Westside. We've got now another guy that DB is very familiar with, Matt Turman, the head coach at Omaha Skutt, also playing for a state championship, something he's quite familiar with. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Has anybody confused you guys with Mike Leach yet? The late, great Mike Leach. It is now Matt Air Raid Turman.
Sometimes you just do what you have to do. So,
hey, you know what's funny though? You guys have thrown it around the yard before, so you're not totally uncomfortable. Is it kind of cool to watch this offense like just become that explosive?
It's been fun. Maybe not right up my alley all the time. So my brother's on staff, and this is right up his alley. That's for sure. So,
Coach, I know that you've obviously done a lot of this before, and you've been very successful. The last few years, it's kind of been Bennington's show, and everybody else was kind of just living in their world. Obviously, you guys broke their long winning streak earlier this season. How does the dynamics of kind of having that under your belt play into going into the championship?
I'm not sure that first game in this regular season has a whole lot of bearing, honestly. I think both teams have gotten used to being down in Lincoln, so I think this is our 8th final in the last 12 years or something like that. So, I mean, our coaches, our players, they kind of,
generally speaking.
Well, I'm just saying, and we're not neither team's gonna get there, I think, and just be awestruck by the moment or the stadium or playing on Tom Osborne Field. So, I'm sure they have something in the back of their mind that they're a little mad and disappointed that their streak ended. And so I don't know if there's a little revenge factor there, but I mean, if you're going that angle, we have the same thing with them beating us last year in the state championship game. So I think that part of the game, it's just going to be two good teams that are going to fight for a state title.
Yeah, I obviously being super familiar with both these teams, and we talk a ton about their defense, and they've got a thoroughbred at every level with Jansen and Bovey and Lordson and those guys. But I think quietly, and I said this Sunday after watching you guys, I like your linebacking pair of Gunther and Van Dyke. That's a really good quiet twosome. Do you think your defense gets a little overlooked because of how explosive your offense has been with the other Van Dyke?
Well, our defense has done a really nice job. We were one of the areas we were a little concerned about was the D line, and we've had some kids that have really stepped up playing up there. And I don't know if you would say there's any of the 5 stars in our defensive front line, but each one of them play really hard, and they do what they need to do, and they keep guys off of those 2 linebackers. And then those 2 linebackers can go and make plays. Particularly, Luke, he's by far our leading tackler. Just like his brother. Yeah, just like his brother runs our offense. He is definitely the quarterback of the defense, and so our defense kind of goes as he goes.
Coach, is there, I never coached football, but I coached basketball for a while, and I always wonder when you're kind of looking back on a season, maybe you haven't done this yet because you still got some business to take care of, but is there a special characteristic about this team that you've enjoyed coaching the most?
Just this group's competitiveness. It's fun in practice every day, and part of that's just driven by our seniors. And particularly those 2 Van Dykes I was talking about. They get after each other nonstop. You can tell they're twins, and neither of them likes to lose. Our defense, every practice we end with our team defense, where we're in team defense. And our D coordinator, he shouts out 3 and out. We take a lot of pride in 3 and outs. And so the goal is that to get off the field and practice, we have to stop the opposing team, in 3 plays. And so now the scout team knows they're trying to get 10 yards, and the defense says we're not letting you get 10 yards. And that's how we end every practice. And Dylan Van Dyke, he takes control of that, particularly in that session. And he is all gung-ho about getting 10 yards against first-team defense with the scout team. So, and that's like the most competitive part of the whole thing. And guys are hooting and hollering, and they're, we get a 5-yard gain with the scout team, and you would have thought we won the Super Bowl with the way that Dylan's chirping at his brother and stuff. So that part's really fun, and just the competitiveness of this group has been really something to behold, and it makes practices a lot of fun.
Dylan acts like he reminds me of, I have a huge affinity for him. He reminds me of the guy that he was born a couple seconds later, so he acts like the crazy younger brother. Who was born first?
Yeah. I don't actually know, but I'm going to find out.
Coach, we appreciate it as always. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, see you soon, buddy.
Appreciate it. All right, thanks.
That's Matt Turman, head coach of Omaha Skutt. We'll be back with Jacob Padilla coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, kicking off hour number 2. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by our friend and colleague, Jacob Padilla. What's going on, JP?
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Buttercup. You sound all fresh and bushy-tailed, man. The Knicks didn't put you in a slumber?
Yeah, I saw very little of that game. Tried to go decided to go play myself, and then looked at the score during the break, and it was 14-3, and the Knicks didn't miss a shot on the first 5 trips down the floor. And I'm like, yeah, I made a good decision.
Got to get that pickup ball in. I appreciate that.
I just need to get KD and Bradley Beal back out there, because it's been rough without both of them.
Your owner, Ispia, goes, Katie's not going anywhere. Is that good news for you, bad news for you? You trying to hit the reset button? What are we trying to do with the Suns right now?
Nah, this is not worth hitting the reset button at this point. This is what they're married to. Let's just see what they can do. Because, it was looking pretty good until they both got hurt this season. I was enjoying watching this team.
All right, JP, let's stay on hoops here, but move on to the college side of things. It's the Battle of the J-Skers coming up tomorrow, Nebraska and Creighton. I know you watch both of these teams super closely. Who has been closer to what you thought they were going to be through the first 4 games of the season?
Who? That's a good question.
It is not.
So I think I guess I don't think either one. I think both teams are still finding themselves. I think Creighton, with the kind of the lineup fluctuations, and with Pop missing a game and trying to work his way back in, and then Mason Miller missing a few games, and kind of what that means for the rotation. And I think Creighton hasn't shot the ball well from 3 yet, which I don't expect to continue that much longer. So I think there's still plenty of room for them to kind of grow into what I thought they'd be. And Nebraska, I think the struggles that we've seen so far, to an extent, are some of the questions that I had, and kind of worries about where they might struggle. So I guess I'd say Nebraska, but I think some of those things that we see them struggle with, I think can improve. Like the 3-point shooting. Like I know they were relying on a few guys to kind of carry that load, and that it wasn't going to be a great shooting team overall. I didn't expect them to be this bad. Like they need those guys to kind of pick it up, or it's going to be a struggle for sure.
JP, how much does Nebraska getting to the foul line and Creighton not being a team that fouls a ton factor into this matchup for you, considering how the start that both these teams have got off to in that regard?
Yeah, that's the strength of these two teams, respectively. You just look at it. Nebraska is top 20 in the country in free throw rate, and Creighton is number 1 in not putting teams at the foul line. And I think Creighton's really, really good at that. That's something that we've seen year over year, particularly with how they played with Kalkbrenner there. They choose to not do a lot of gambling. They don't try to force a lot of turnovers, and they just play really sound basketball on that end, and really disciplined. I think Nebraska's probably has to find some way to win that battle in order to make this a good game, just with what we've seen of them scoring from the field. I don't think it's not going to be any easier for them scoring in the paint than they have, and they've been okay in that area, not elite by any stretch. They have not faced anything like what Kalkbrenner will present in the lane. So that is going to be a key in the game, and I'm sure that's something that Creighton has stressed heavily within their practices this week.
Yeah, Jacob, you mentioned they're going to have to win that particular battle if Nebraska is going to win this thing. Is there an indicator like that on the Creighton side where you say, hey, if Creighton does X, this thing probably went the way they wanted it to?
Probably knock down some threes. I mean, like if you win that, then it's just going to be hard from the math perspective to work out. And that's one thing that
I'm curious to see what Nebraska's game plan is going to be. We saw 2 years ago when they won in Omaha. Obviously, Kalkbrenner being sick probably had an impact on that game. But also, like, Nebraska dared Creighton. They doubled. They decided we're not going to let Kalkbrenner beat them. They're sending help from the weak side on every post up. They're tagging every roll. They're doubling all the block touches. Like they were not going to let Kalkbrenner beat them, and they dared Creighton to beat them from three. And for whatever reason on that night, they just couldn't do it. Like that's not. I don't think that's going to be a winning strategy over the long haul against Creighton, but in a one-off, maybe that's worth the risk. It's like, all right, if you hit 12 threes, then we're just going to lose. But if you're having an off night, then we're going to have a chance to win this thing. So and we know Nebraska, with the way that they typically play defenses, they do fly around. They do double team the post. And good ball movement will open up some threes against that. If you get the ball where it needs to go, you make the right reversals. So I'll be curious to see if they just kind of play this like they normally do, and maybe try that strategy again. And if Creighton, if you've got, we saw the Kansas City game where you had Isaac Trout, you had Jackson McAndrew both hitting threes in the same game. And they got up 30 plus in that one before kind of letting it slip back. So like that makes Creighton very hard to guard when you've got those guys taking advantage of the attention paid to Kalkbrenner with Trout and McAndrew and the weak side corner. Because you're helping off those guys, then you're just asking for trouble. So I'll be curious to see kind of the chess match between the two coaches and the strategies they use to kind of combat what the other's going to do.
Yeah, that's kind of my question, because both teams have the ability to play big lineups, yet it doesn't seem like it's either coach's MO, but it's kind of how the rosters have shaken out. Who do you think's more comfortable playing with size on the floor?
Well, I mean, Creighton, I'd definitely say Nebraska, that's just kind of what they've done. Creighton has kind of had to do some of that out of necessity just because of where the roster stands, and with Fedor Zugic not being eligible. That opens the door, and the Glet at the four spot, and just trying to get all those guys playing time. We've seen Jason Green play more at the three. He's obviously played a little bit of five in addition to the four, and asked him about that, and just kind of trying to feel his way into the season, and said it's been challenging, but he's enjoyed it because he thinks it'll help him and the team down the road if he can get comfortable there. But it hasn't looked great just yet. But I think on the perimeter we're going to see them be pretty small against Nebraska in all season, where you go Ashworth and Isaacs together, and then Jemiah Neal at 6'5" on the wing. So that is an area that Nebraska will have an advantage in if they play the way they have been with that bigger starting lineup, where Worcester's Mac made a joke about him being listed at 6'5", but I mean Ashworth is also listed at 6'1". So if Worcester isn't that he still has a bit of size advantage there. You got Juwan Gary. If you put Jemiah Neal on Bryce Williams, who has had a great start to the season despite not shooting well from three, then you're putting Isaacs on Juwan Gary probably, and Ashworth on Worcester, and like those guys can. We know Worcester likes to get down low and kind of play some bully ball and score in the paint. You know, Juwan Gary, that's kind of where he makes his hay, and I think surviving on the defensive glass is going to be key, because that's an area where Gary can hurt them if he's got a smaller guy on him. If he goes and crashes hard, like they're going to have to be able to get that defensive glass to initiate their transition. So the good news is if they do try to take advantage of that size mismatch in the half court, you're probably going to have Kalkbrenner there helping out. So that's kind of the equalizer for Creighton's side of things, where they might be able to survive those mismatches size-wise.
Yeah, conversely though, Nebraska has to guard those guys too. So Burke, whomever he guards, I think that's going to be interesting because he's going to be playing a lot further from the basket on the regular than I think he's probably more comfortable to seeing. That little cat and mouse is going to be fantastic. JP, are you bummed? Are you excited? It's easy for you to transition, I know, to hoops because you're a hoops guy, but wouldn't you like to see this game played later than the Friday before Nebraska, Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this in different spots in the calendar. It just makes sense with the MT coming up, and then you want to kind of ease your way back into conference play with the last few bye games or whatever. It kind of is what it is. But
that is such a Jacob answer.
I mean, they've had some time. I honestly, for Creighton, I think this schedule works out perfectly to where it just kind of ramps up. You had the 4 games to figure some things out, to kind of ease your way in the season. Now you get to face Nebraska at home, their first high major opponent, before they head out to Vegas for the NTE, where the competition is going to be pretty tough. So I think, honestly, for Creighton, it's worked out pretty well. And even for Nebraska, they had that St. Mary's game to kind of get ready for this one after getting a few kind of home bye games to figure some things out. So I think, honestly, with the way they schedule those MTs around the holidays, for the most part, it worked out pretty well for both sides this year, even if they are both trying to find themselves, like we talked about earlier.
Jacob, is Bryce Williams good enough to be the best player on a team that wins their first NCAA tournament game for Nebraska?
I don't know that. I think he needs the other guys around him to play better than they have thus far.
Sure.
To make that the case. Like, that's the problem right now. Like, you look at that lineup, and he's the best three-point shooter in that starting lineup, but he's the guy that you need to space the floor for, and he can't do both. So that's kind of where some of the lineups have been weird, and with bringing Esijan and Griffiths and those guys off the bench, and Berke not really shooting the ball yet, which they were hoping that he'd be able to do for them. I think the lineups are a little clunky, and he's had to probably create a little bit more. I think he's in a better spot now this year than he was last year, just with Worcester out there able to handle the ball and kind of run the offense. And so he's freed up to go score and get downhill, get to the free throw line and those types of things. Like, I think he's fine enough if the team as a whole performs better. Obviously, you'd like an All-American to feel great about your tournament stretch, but I mean, I think he's a pretty good player, and in year 2, that's why we're seeing with Creighton too. These transfers with multiple years, they're so important to being able to make runs, because it is hard in that first year with the program, whether you're a high school kid or a transfer, to play to your full capability. It takes some time to figure some things out, to adjust to the league, to adjust to your scheme and your teammates and all that. So we're seeing that with Bryce now taking a lead, second year playing at the high major level. We're seeing with the start Stephen Ashworth has gotten off to. We didn't really talk about him much at all, but he's been spectacular so far this season.
Yeah, he can go bucket hunt now. It's fun to see him. It's fun to see him in that role.
Well, and just the overall, like 16 points, 7 assists, 5 or 6 rebounds. Like, he's been just impacting the game in so many ways this season. Like you say, he's just comfortable. He knows his role, and he's able to fill it well. I mean, how many times when kind of maybe there's a little bit of mini run for the other team, they've had a few rough possessions in a row, and then he just like steps into a 3 off the dribble and knocks it down. And it's huge having that stabilizing force for Creighton.
I don't know if better is the word, but he seems like he's more comfortable and efficient ball handler too. Yep. One of my favorite things about this one tomorrow is it's my favorite thing about Raleigh. He looks like a guy that I would pick up at LA Fitness, and somebody's going to get 40 put on him. Like, it's just amazing just how crafty his game is. and how comfortable he is with doing it. You know, he's got the little he can go to the little dribble down, the back it down post game. He's just like a crafty old school.
I got that old man game.
Just pick you up at the gym and somebody's going to get smoked. They're going to say, "I got that guy." And you're going to get it.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting with Worcester and Ashworth, who they came in together at Utah State for Craig Smith 5 years ago, and both had pretty good freshman years, and then kind of went their separate ways from there, and here they are, their final year going head to head here in Nebraska, and it's two completely different styles of playing the same position. So I think that battle is going to be kind of a fun little subplot to watch within that game, just kind of how those two attack each other, assuming they'll be matched up for good stretches of the game. And again, Worcester's he's had an interesting start to the season. I think he scored a little better than I thought he would, but the playmaking hasn't necessarily been there. Obviously, it's hard to get assists if guys.
Yeah, they got to shoot. Yeah, so there you go.
That's part of it.
Yeah,
but I think 1.8 assists to 3.0 turnovers. That's not the ratio you want from your point guard, and that is an area as a whole Nebraska struggled with is turnovers. Just killed them in that St. Mary's game. So I think he's hit a few threes by percentages, one of the best on the team, even though it's small percentage. So that's not necessarily his strength. So I think it's going to be fun to watch that for sure. They're going to need him to have a big game and to win that matchup in order for Nebraska to have a chance.
I got to take advantage of your expertise, young Jakob. We have to transition to volleyball since I say this tongue-in-cheek, but not really. I kind of are a volleyball state. Nebraska fresh off their sweep, and Creighton doing what they do. But I got to ask you kind of off topic here. Who do you think Wisconsin is? I know they had the 5-setter against Minnesota. You've seen both teams here recently. Do we like the direction we like the direction Wisconsin was moving? Then they ran into Nebraska, and it's like, oh, Nebraska's offense they can play pretty fast. That seemed to neutralize Wisconsin. Like for you, who's the next best formidable team in the conference? Not named Penn State.
Yeah, with Wisconsin, the issue too that they've run into even since that Nebraska loss is last few matches they've been without their libero and their best defensive specialist. They've both been hurt, and I'm sure that's impacting. In that 5-setter against Minnesota, they're the fill-in at libero had 4 reception errors. So that's not great when teams are able to pick on your libero in serve receive, and that just makes it so. I don't know how they won it. They won that thing hitting 158, 20 to 18 in the fifth. So I think the answer to your question is probably Purdue. I think at full health, it is Wisconsin, and like you said, it looked like they had really kind of settled in and figured it out leading up to that Nebraska match, and then Nebraska rose to the occasion and played their best match of the season. So I think obviously Nebraska's already done with Purdue. They're done with almost everybody, which is crazy that we've got 2 weeks left here, or a week and a half even, three matches left in the regular season. But the way it is interesting that Nebraska, you have the one-off with Penn State at Penn State. If Nebraska goes and gets that done, they will certainly this will be kind of one of their more impressive, I think, conference titles from that standpoint. As your top competition, you got to go beat them at their place, and there's no fallback of we'll see them again in Devaney. So if they're able to get that done and clinch that title, that'll kind of say a lot about this team and what they've been able to accomplish this season.
You think Nebraska settled in on their rotation?
It seems like it.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it just seems like Cook has decided to go with Landfair. Although, and then
after the first half of the season, right? It's just crazy how this has evolved.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Krause had the opportunity and didn't necessarily the last couple of matches just for whatever reason couldn't quite get it going, and then Lanford came in and had some highs, but also has struggled with consistency herself. And then we see Cook the last few matches getting the other seniors in the match, and Krause goes in and has 6 kills on 8 swings in the third set the other night. So
I'm always gonna cheer for her, like that. Just me, 100%. Like she just has that little spot.
Well, yeah, and I'm the same. Like covering her in high school and seeing everything that she's accomplished, and it's unfortunate when you've got a loaded team. Somebody really good is going to have to sit, and although we'll see if in tournament run here if Cook. I think at that point, I think Cook said he just wanted to find some consistency and give Landfair a chance to play through some things, but if she's out there tipping and missing shots in the NCAA tournament, I would not be surprised at all to see Cook go back to, all right, Lindsay, your turn. Let's go see what you've got, because at that point, you're not worried about someone building confidence for the future. You got to go win right now. And so he does have those options if we get into the postseason. But for the regular season, it kind of seems like he decided just to roll with what we've seen recently.
Jacob, more impressive to you so far this season, Nebraska's ability to stay laser locked and focused when really they just kind of got to get through the season to try and achieve their goals of trying to redeem that national championship loss, or Creighton with their 11th straight Big East national or conference title?
Yeah, that is crazy. Obviously Creighton's the best program in that league.
They're so silly with their pin hitters. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we know how good Kirsten Berthel Booth is at what she does and what she and her staff have built the program into. Like, Creighton should be winning the Big East every year, but it's still really impressive to go out and do it with the consistency they have, and to not slip up, and to be able to get up for the big matches every single time. So I think I'd say just over the long haul, the consistency and the ability to keep building up that roster and to find year in and year out new players to come in. And it's crazy what this this senior class has accomplished over the years. And they've got some good players kind of coming up and supporting them. So credit to Kirsten Berthel Booth, but Nebraska, 24 straight wins, 17 straight in the Big Ten. Cook often talks about the Big Ten being harder to win than national championship because of the 10-week aspect of it. And here we are in Nebraska, pretty close to sweeping through the league.
That's our guy, Jacob Padilla from Hurrdat Sports. Jacob, we appreciate it as always.
Yep, practice another time, guys.
Thanks, JP.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, halfway through the show. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and reminding you, if you're on your way to work, make sure you've got that seatbelt fastened and make it click. It prevents injuries and saves lives, but only when worn properly. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. What's up, DB?
And they're having a deal, not a deal like BOGO, but NDOT is partnered. They've got a grant coming up. I think it's over the next couple of days. It may start the 23rd or end on the 23rd. I probably should know, but at the end of the day, the moral of the story is going to be paying much more attention to seatbelt infractions and driving with your seatbelt, because the accidents that have been happening, the increase in folks not wearing their seatbelt has been monumental. So I think there's going to be a concerted effort over the holiday to make sure that you are buckled up. So double down on Ravi L2's memo.
Make it click.
Make it click. Don't be
a silly guy, a silly gal. Don't be silly. Make it click.
Don't be silly.
This
sounds
like NDOT.
Hey, don't be silly.
No, it's a big travel weekend coming up next week. It's a lot of people on the roads. You got to be careful out there.
So if you're me, see, BMAC may drive.
Let me get in my headspace here. Okay.
BMAC may drive just to spend a little extra time with the family. He's got 2 littles. I think he loves being. This dude will FaceTime his kids.
May drive to Iowa City?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience on game day, but and they're daddy. It's like, it's cool, right? It just settles me down.
Yeah.
And he's thinking he's probably going to drive for extra time.
Mm.
But I don't want to drive back because I don't know if you've ever driven back from Iowa City after a game. I don't know what it is, and maybe there's only like one real way to go.
I mean, from there to here, yeah, basically.
And it's a 6:30 game, so I'm like,
that's gonna be lit. Yeah.
But I would ride out with him and
fly back. Yeah. If I was driving back, I'd stay the night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd come back on Saturday morning. I wouldn't drive back Friday night. That's just me though. I don't,
Yeah, well, you don't have any real responsibilities other than being married.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I have kids.
I
have to get back.
Stay the night.
Who's taking care of your? Oh, Tasha would stay.
Yeah. She would take care of the dogs, or we got a couple people that we ask to take care of dogs, or my parents or siblings or whatever once in a while help us out there.
I don't know what time we're leaving yet too, so that'll be.
Yeah. Might ride out with Benny Mac though. Have a little road trip.
It just was interesting. Yeah, he's fun. Like, I wouldn't mind the time spent.
It's not a terrible drive out.
No, I've been there several times.
It's like
unfortunately
4.5 hours. It's not bad, especially for us Midwesterners like to get
Although
in the car
one
and
time,
drive.
maybe once or twice, I think DJ drove it.
Really?
Which is much better than me. But then the other last couple times, like, I think it was just me and Caleb. But anyway, yeah, just pondering. So there's like these. I'm looking at these social media tweets, and there's this one that says, "Burning bridges with athletes in this era is ridiculous. Keep that in mind when you tweet at or about them." Are we back to tweeting about athletes because we're doing this again?
Depends on. I mean, what do you mean by? I'll never tweet at an athlete. Like, I'm not gonna tag them if I'm watching a game.
I think we need to calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like whatever, I get it. Message boards are going crazy. Like the first 4 questions in our chat were crazy. I think
you turn the temperature down a little bit.
Yeah,
we're a little too close to the boiling point.
Yep,
just like Simadonna.
Simadonna, like they'll rally and they'll be dialed for this week. Now, I mean, the purge is definitely coming.
Yeah, I mean, it has to.
But I think we are way overreacting to like the rumor mill.
I'd be surprised.
That's why I said at the end of segment 1, it's going to be okay.
I mean,
it's going to be okay.
First of all, I'd be surprised if there's very many names that I'm shocked about.
You won't be.
And
I don't think.
I don't either. Right? You're talking about 40 guys, more or less.
40 waters. Sprinkle me.
I don't know what that means.
I see 40. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't even worry about it.
That might be a little before my time, DB.
Yeah.
No, like, you're going to be about 40 guys. Obviously, you've got an incoming freshman class too, so those numbers are going to be a little bit fluid between the freshmen and the transfers, which I'm sure they'll bring in some transfers this year again. I don't think they're going to go full Dabo and just not take any transfers, right? But I'd be really the last time a guy left and I was like stunned was probably Ernest Hausman. That was the first one that like caught me off guard.
Oh, that's a good pull.
Like outside of that,
you didn't Spielman? You could see Wandale.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I was disappointed that Wandale wanted to leave, but I got it, and it wasn't shocking to me. Like, you had like this 140-pound guy playing running back a lot. Like, that was probably not what he signed up to do. And obviously, connections.
How funny is it
back home and everything?
He and Barney both wearing the same 17, and that's the comp that he gets.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're different guys.
I do too,
but
and
body types are different and styles are different. But that's probably the last one. Hausman's probably the last one where I was like caught off guard by it. Everybody else, like Spielman, you'd heard rumors was unhappy or whatever, wanted to move on somewhere else. Wandale, kind of same thing, heading back home. Like, none of these guys that have left, even the higher profile guys.
Remember what I told you? I can't remember. Somebody tweeted it to me. You know how I always said, we haven't won with you. We certainly can lose without you.
Yeah.
He said he would just tweak it and say, we haven't won with you. We certainly can win without you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I kind of like that.
But I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I know.
Because we don't know if they can win with you or without you.
Well, that's the goal, though.
Right, 100%. I'm going to try and win without you because I haven't won with you.
It's no different than you don't want to speak losing into existence by saying it the other way.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just get Wisconsin and line it up and play it again.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, and I know if this doesn't go the way I want it to, this is going to come back and bite me. This is not a scary Wisconsin team. I don't think. Compared to some of the ones Nebraska's played in the past, this is not a Wisconsin team that I look at and like, oh, that's scary. Mm-hmm. They've had some teams that I'm like, I don't know how that's going to go, right? Nebraska's played some teams on their schedule the last couple of years. I'm like, I don't know how that's going to go. This is not one of those teams. Wisconsin's not one of those teams. Yeah. Could they lose to Wisconsin? 100%, right? But this isn't a team that I look at and I go, that's kind of scary. I don't love how that looks, right? Wisconsin's in a state of flux as much, if not more, than Nebraska.
Yeah, but be careful, though, because that's part of Nebraska's problem. Don't worry about who and what's coming into town. Don't convince yourself of anything by talking. Just mind your own business.
Well, and that's a player-coach mindset,
right?
Right, and that's fine.
That's what those guys got to do. Just mind your own business,
and that's fine. And if you're a Nebraska player or coach, turn it off real quick. Don't listen to this, right? But from a fan, analyst, whatever hat you want me to put on, I do look at Wisconsin and I go, this is a team in flux as well. This is a team dealing with some things as well. You've got an opportunity here, right? Now you have to take advantage of that opportunity, and that's where minding your own business and focusing on yourself comes in. But people are going to try and sit here and tell me that Wisconsin, there's won 12 straight matchup or 10 straight matchups against Nebraska or whatever, and this is not those teams on either side of that equation, right? Like Russell Wilson isn't coming in here, right? Melvin Gordon's not coming in here.
As my man Jason would say, Super Russ.
Yeah, like I don't know what Wisconsin rides like on Wisconsin. Let's Badger. I don't know. Whatever it is, right?
Let's milk.
Let's dairy. That actually never mind.
Grow up.
I did. I stopped myself. But like this isn't Melvin Gordon running for 400. I know we all get a little PTSD from that, but like this isn't that. Could Wisconsin beat Nebraska? Absolutely, right? But this is not a scary Wisconsin team.
Yeah, the problem is, did they scare you last year?
No.
Okay.
And that was a win. That was
what about going into overtime? Did they scare you then? When's the last time Wisconsin did scare you?
It's probably been a few years.
Okay,
but I think we get this PTSD from these really good Wisconsin teams that stomped Nebraska. This isn't that. This is just another.
But it hasn't been that.
That's my point, though.
And they've still lost, Ravi.
I get that. I get they've still lost. But it's not because Wisconsin's scary. It's because of Nebraska.
Oh.
That's my point. Wisconsin's not the boogeyman. We make him out to be a boogeyman in our head because we haven't beat him. That's a Nebraska problem, not a Wisconsin deal. This isn't Ohio State and Michigan, man. This is a fairly mediocre Wisconsin team. You're going to have an opportunity to go out and beat them, so go out and beat them. But that's a you problem.
I think losing is just losing. That's what the PTSD is from.
That's fine, but that's a you problem.
I don't know if it's opponent specific.
It's not opponent specific, but it is a you problem. We act like it's opponent specific. We act like Wisconsin's the boogeyman. The boogeyman's living upstairs. That's where the boogeyman lives for Nebraska.
Get John Wick.
Brian Edwards coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
The way they're using the cream cheese to butter the bagel.
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, wrapping up hour number 2. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by our Vegas insider, Brian Edwards from Major Wager. What's going on, B?
Good morning, fellas. How we doing?
Oh man, you're 2 for your last 2. It's not as funny anymore. You got this thing all on lock. B, I gotta start with my fave. Ravi likes to make fun of me because I have an affinity for someone that doesn't appear to be a very good guy, but that's not the first time. How impressive, in your opinion, is John Jones? And are you still of the belief that Aspinall should and would be the fave?
I was very impressed with Jones. But I do think, and actually, I haven't, I'm sure it's out there. I haven't looked. Is there an updated line on Jones and Aspinall? But I do think Aspinall should be a short favorite, but not much, like minus 120 maybe.
Wow. Is that so? You're just going with the younger whippersnapper in his mid-20s, right? Because of his size.
Yeah, his size and his speed. We've never seen a heavyweight move like this. I mean, Lesnar maybe could move like that a little bit, but Lesnar didn't have this guy's incredible striking. And Lesnar couldn't move quite like this, although Lesnar's very athletic for that size. But I think Aspinall. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Jones obviously could beat him. But yeah, I'm trying to go to the. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I guess I'm shocked as much as, and I'm not saying Aspinall gets touched a ton, but he has been hittable. I'm surprised you think that a guy that is as good a striker as Jones is, he really would put Aspinall's toughness to the test.
Yep. It would be wonderful. I hope we find out. I think we're gonna find out. I don't know that I've been that
the greatest
optimistic about
greatest line of the whole deal is when they asked John Jones how much it would take, and he said a lot. Where the outcome was a lot. But he truly has a disdain for Aspinall, though. It strikes me as some of the conversations I've had with Bud. They're just some guys, they're just not chomping at the bit to give an opportunity to.
Yeah, so I'm looking on Bet Online. They have Aspinall minus 130 and Jones plus 110.
Incredible.
I'm not sure what other books might have it up.
Oh, all right.
B, let's get over to football. I want to start with
been a lot of dairy references with Wisconsin coming to town. So Ravi would like to start with your cash cow.
Who?
Indiana.
Oh, well, I was going to start tonight in your backyard with the Steelers and what I think is a very stinky number.
Yeah. Take the Browns. What do you got for me in the NFL, B?
Yeah, so if you can buy the Steelers to -3 at minus 130 or cheaper, I think you do that. But if it's like more than that, just lay the 3.5. I mean, I hate road teams on the short week. But look, the Browns showed some fight in that win over the Ravens, which I think was Jabu's first start, but not so much since then. And Steelers are on fire. I know they're coming off a 60-minute battle, but I got to go Steelers at hopefully 3, but 3.5 is fine as well.
B, all right, let's get to your cash cow then. Indiana, once again, they are a fairly large dog at Ohio State. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, so nobody's going to argue that Ohio State doesn't have better overall talent and more big game experience, but I put heavy emphasis on quarterback play and head coaching in my handicapping, and I think we have the advantages in both of those departments. Curtis Rourke, 21-4 TDI-INT ratio, 2,410 passing yards, 71.8 completion percentage, and that's missing the second half against Nebraska and the entire home game against Washington. Indiana, they've got a 4-deep backfield. They have, 5 different receiving targets that have 289 receiving yards or more. Signetti, I think, is better than Ryan Day. I think Rourke's better than Will Howard. I know that Indiana, struggled offensively in the second half against Michigan, but, even though Will Johnson was out that game, Michigan's got a lot of NFL players on that defense. Is it a big step up in competition? Absolutely. But you know what? Is it a big step up in competition for Ohio State outside of a 32-31 loss at Oregon and a 20-13 home win over Penn State? Yep. And they didn't win either of those games by 2 touchdowns. Let's buy the half point from 13.5 to 14. I like the Hoosiers.
Let's go down because I think there's only 3 top 25 matchups where the teams have numbers in front of them. We just went through one with Indiana, Ohio State, BYU, and Arizona State. He's the talk of the country. Everybody wants to taste the Scattlebow rainbow of ASU. Man, BYU coming off. I don't know. That line was arguably one of the worst I've seen all year, and it came home to roost. But now BYU goes on the road to take on Arizona State. What do you like? Short number. Just 3, right?
Yeah. Yep. I made ASU 4.5. I like the Sun Devils -3, but it's backing ASU. It's not fading BYU. BYU threw an interception on first and goal from the 5 with 39 seconds left in the first half last week. They coughed up a punt return fumble, which gave Kansas a one-play 3-yard touchdown drive. I I just like ASU. They've won 3 in a row and 5 of 6, both straight up in ATS. They are 5-0 both straight up and against the spread at home this year. And Levitt, the redshirt freshman quarterback, he's been awesome. 17-4 TDI and T ratio, 1,906 passing yards, 348 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 4.5 yards per carry average. Like you said, Scatabo back from the injury, 1,074 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry average. And ASU might be off its best game. I mean, they go. K-State was undefeated at home this year, had won 11 of its 12 previous home games. ASU jumps on them 21-0 with 10:10 left in the second on 3 touchdown passes by Levitt. They led 24-0 early third. K-State didn't score until 2:51 left in the third. I like Arizona State -3.
Okay, B, I got to ask you about this one because I think it's one of the more interesting picks you have on here. You're taking Kentucky and the points against Texas. That's a Kentucky team that hasn't played very well. What are you seeing there? Is it just, hey, that number's way too big?
Yeah, I made Texas 17. Texas is mired in a 1-3 ATS slump. The only spread cover against Florida with its third string quarterback. Vintage look-ahead situation. With its first game against arch rival A&M on deck. I guess it's debatable who's the biggest rival for Texas A&M or Oklahoma, but considering they haven't played A&M in more than a decade, I think that makes the look-ahead situation even greater, especially with SEC and CFP implications. Kentucky got great news with the first injury report last night. Their leading tackler Jamon Dumas-Johnson, who's been out the last 2 games, he's not on the injury report. And their longtime starting edge rusher, J.J. Weaver, he's probable. He's missed the last 2 games. And Maxwell Hairston came back last week. He'd been out 5 games with a shoulder injury. He's their second-team All-SEC selection last year when he had 5 interceptions. So they've got 3 of their best defensive players back that they didn't have at Tennessee. And since the Tennessee game, they had an open date and they had Murray State. So they're a lot more healthy. Maybe the offense got a little more confidence with Murray State last week, having a little success. And Kentucky's been a double-digit underdog 3 times this year, 3-0 against the spread with 1 outright win. They've covered the spread by 47 combined points, lost by 1 at home to Georgia, lost by 10 at Tennessee, but they were leading, in a good ways into the second half of that game. And the other one, when the outright win at Ole Miss. Give me Kentucky. Let's buy the half point to +21.
Man, they're going to have to score at least 14. That's gutsy, B. I kind of like your thought process, though. Let's jump down because I know this is how you help build that palatial estate that you've got down there in Destin. Once upon a time, you were the king of hammering Bama in first halves. You're returning to – that's how long you and I have been talking to one another.
Yeah.
Returning to your roots. You like a little first half action against OU?
Yeah, those are the two-a-days. I'm not against Bama -13.5 or 14, but if we can get -7 in the first half, I'm gonna go that route. Look, I just think Jalen Milroe was not healthy in October. He was dealing with a rib injury, and his play reflected that. I think he's back to September Milroe, where he looked like the Heisman favorite.
September Milroe.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Damon?
No, I just was.
What were you gonna say?
That's a nice name, September Milroe.
Yeah, he's back to September Milroe in November. He had a great game against LSU. I know it was Mercer, but he had a good game last week. And, Oklahoma's just had its struggles, all kind of injuries all over the place, especially at receiver. Give me Bama -7 in the first half.
Let's get your last 2 NFL plays with the Commanders and the Chiefs-Panthers game.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want with the Commanders against the Cowgirls. -10 or 10.5 for the game, -6-ish in the first half. And Panthers +11. So check this out. Kansas City, guess how many times they've won by more than 11 this year?
I go with none.
1. 13 against New Orleans. Panthers have had an open date. They've won back-to-back games. Kansas City, back-to-back road spot. And Kansas City, when they're favored by 7 or more this year, 0-3 against the spread, and they haven't been double-digit favorites all year. But Kansas City is my eliminator pick. So Kansas City by 10 or fewer, I certainly hope.
That's our guy, Brian Edwards, Major Wager. We appreciate it, B.
Thanks, B.
Hey, maybe Charleston Southern plus 33.5 too. Thanks, guys.
All right,
hey,
buddy.
what about Florida? Come on, man. Save Billy Napier with that win against LSU.
Have a good one, fellas.
We'll see you, B.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll be back with Michael Bruntz.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Michael Bruntz of Husker 24/7. What's going on, Bruntsy?
Hello.
Hi, Bruntz. I asked the court permission to treat as a hostile witness. I have been granted permission.
I don't know
what Bruntz do.
Whoever the graphics person is at Hurrdat needs to
just every week, just gradually making that coffee cup bigger and bigger.
It was huge. I could barely hold it, Bruntz.
Well, you got the other hand under it. You're supporting it like it's a baby. So, yeah, I would die laughing.
And remember, I'm the guy with big hands.
You got to support the neck so it doesn't break.
I was waiting for that joke to happen, and I left it out there for you, Bruntz.
Yeah, I took the pitch. I wasn't gonna hit. I wasn't gonna swing at that one. But I would die laughing if by like April, if that coffee mug is just like comically large because it's been increased in size week to week.
Now I'm gonna see if I can get him to do that. I just wanted to cover.
No, you can't. Well, I'm right here.
I wanted to cover his entire torso. Just.
Do you like how he's like speaking this into existence as if it's going to sneak up on me?
By August, it's just going to be that Damon's not even going to be in the picture anymore.
There's a coffee mug.
Just a coffee mug with Damon's face on it.
That's great. You guys are funny.
Yeah.
Couple of Miller Northians just
yucking
it up.
That's how you know we're good guys.
Hey, so Bruntz, before we get started, I told BC I'm going to need you, Shafe, and BC to switch up your seats because you're part of the reason that Nebraska has struggled at home. So you guys just change seats, okay?
Yes, it's that among over everything is the reason they've struggled.
It is.
We could do that.
Break up that threesome. I don't know how you sit, to be honest.
I'll bring a standing desk. I'll move Mike Babcock out of the way, and I'll just put a standing desk right there.
Nobody moves the goat.
No. But yeah, we'll see what we can do. Because I guess, it's been we. Now that you mention it, we've been in that configuration since the 2017 season, so you might be onto something there.
Yeah, just give it a try. So it's not like one of you can get mad at the other. You're only taking each other's seats.
So it's your guys' fault. That's where we're.
Yeah,
I tried to convince.
That appears to be the case.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you know what you have to do, as a gentleman and a scholar. I think you know what you have to do here.
Take one for the team.
Bruntz, as you look, let's look back first. Actually, as you look back to the USC game. It seems like, and maybe I'm living in my own little bubble here, that's entirely possible.
Typically is the case.
Yeah, usually. It seems like coming off of a loss, the narrative around Nebraska has been more positive than I would have expected. A, is that what you've seen or experienced? B, if it is, why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably the people that I know who have weighed in on it, I think generally have weighed in on that game and the direction going forward based on kind of how they felt going into it. Because, I mean, I think I would be willing to entertain the viewpoint that there was more tempo on offense and there were some plays there that probably needed to go for more than they did. And that's all good considering what you had 12 days to kind of make everything mesh and work together. And, I think I could also go along with the viewpoint of, the numbers and production and everything else was pretty similar to what it had been prior to the USC game. And you saw some of the same issues that have popped up over the last 5-6 games. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm eager to see what another week of this looks like. I'm eager to see what it looks like offensively with, another week to kind of learn personnel. I mean, I know that Dana Holgorsen doesn't know names over there yet. I have to think that, another week of practice, maybe you're able to see some different guys that might help in different situations. So I'm eager to see what that looks like this weekend. And, I think, the one thing though, that kind of stuck with me from that USC game was just kind of watching guys file out of the locker room after the game. And it was, it was a group that seemed like was going to need to be picked up this week. Like it kind of struck me as a group that was a little bit beaten down by the way things have gone.
So we'll see which Nebraska shows up. But I mean, I feel like we talked about that last week going into the USC game, where it was a little bit of like, okay, you've had all these losses pile up. How are you going to show up, and how are you going to play?
Yeah. So this is the first time. So this is different. This is just my opinion. So I'm going to get your thoughts here, Bruntz, which is why I think we have weekly guests, isn't it? All right. I'm just going to follow the script. Sometimes I just have to process out loud, Bruntsy. You should. Ravi's laughing because he knows I'm certifiable, but you should travel with me, Bruntz. One of these times when I don't want to fly, and I'll ride with you, and you're going to be like, "Oh my God, this guy's as crazy as I thought." No, but seriously, Bruntz, I think this is the first time, because I'm going by what you said after those guys were leaving, right? I think this is the first time the defense is thinking, man, we dropped the ball back here, especially, some spots in the secondary and a couple hustle plays. And are we going to – do I still want to be in control of my own outcome? Because sometimes as a player, you're like, shoot, that was on me, man. I'll make it up to you. Other people are like, man, they just were better than me, man. I laid it on the line. So depending on where you are on that side of the coin, you have to face that, because a lot of your toes are gone because it was self-inflicted. On offense, I think they feel better because it actually was probably better than they thought, especially mechanically or operationally. So they know they're probably going to get better, right? Do you think that's do you remember a time where the offense is like, oh, man, we got a lot more left, and defense is like, I don't know, man. Did we shoot our shot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I know Matt Rhule was asked, specifically if like the Holgorsen move was done to, like, basically a benefit of it would be like a spark, like in kind of resetting the deck a little bit. And I think there's probably something to that. I mean, when you've just been not great for nine games, and you have somebody coming in and speaking a little bit differently, doing things a little bit differently. I would imagine for guys that were maybe more role players rather than the, 50 snap a game type guys, there's probably a little bit of bounce in their step going into practice with somebody new looking at things. So I think I'll buy that on offense. I thought for the most part that things went pretty smoothly. Like I said, I mean, you saw Nebraska use a little bit of tempo. They were playing a little bit faster than what they had prior to Dana Holgorsen taking over. And I think for the most part that looked pretty good. There wasn't a lot of the procedural stuff that you would probably expect with a brand new offensive coordinator and everything else. So, that's good. I mean, the defense. This defense this year, it feels like a group that, they play with, when they're playing really well, they play with an edge, and they play with some swagger and some confidence. And last time we saw it was probably Ohio State. I mean, I didn't think that they played particularly confidently against UCLA. I wouldn't say that even against USC that it was there for 60 minutes. So I don't know. I mean, I think defensively, I'm just left thinking of Ty Robinson kind of saying that, the getting things over the top and over the hump and everything else and getting to that sixth win. I think they're feeling the weight of that a little bit right now. And, defensively, you've got to find that edge and whether that's new guys, whether that's, dialing up the aggression, I don't know, but it just all season, and especially in Big Ten play, it seemed like a group that week to week, they're not in their feels, but like you can tell pretty early on, I think, whether or not the defense is dialed in and whether or not they kind of have that attitude that you need to play the way that they want to play.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Brusker 24/7. Bruntz, how do you kind of weigh out a couple things being true at once, or things that I think are true? Maybe I'm wrong here, where the offense needed a fresh set of eyes. They needed a new perspective. They needed someone else in the room. and yet not everything that the coaches that were already there and doing was wrong. Like, how do you weigh that out in your mind, especially like with wide receivers where you hear we need more guys like Bonner and Lloyd, and then, okay, should Garrett McGuire have seen that? Maybe, but you also have to weigh, okay, well, Ja'Cory Barney's been really good too. Like, is everything he's done bad, or, you kind of get what I'm asking there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it also comes down to, how the coordinator wants to run things. I mean, especially at the wide receiver position. I mean, Dana Holgorsen is a wide receivers coach by background. Like, I'm sure he has very clear expectations and, just preferences on how he wants things run with that group. I think you're right. I mean, I think two things can be true. I mean, I think somebody can come in and do things very differently from the way they were being done before. But I don't think anybody would argue that, getting Ja'Cory Barney a lot of snaps has been a bad thing. Like I think sometimes too, if things can be taught a little bit differently, like you're kind of changing the stimulus for some of those guys. Of like, I'm sure they've been taught to block on the perimeter a particular way, for the last year, going back to spring ball. But, somebody comes in and, I have not gotten the sense that Dana Holgorsen is will mince words. So, he comes in and says, why aren't we doing this? Or why are we doing it this way? I think that's fine. I mean, that's why you brought him in. I mean, that was the new set of eyes or fresh set of eyes or whatever the actual quote was. So I think I'm fine with it. I mean, I think that's why you made the change was, Matt Rhule is kind of the CEO head coach. I know he's dialed in on certain areas, but I mean, I think that's why you bring somebody in like Dana Holgorsen, who's been a head coach, who's been a successful offensive coordinator, is to say, look, we're going to do things a little bit differently and really kind of take control of how all that stuff's going on, both, on the practice field and also, in the meeting room and the way the game planning's done.
You know what's interesting? This just hit me. I'm going back to when Coach Rhule said, hey, coaching is kind of lonely. The fresh set of eyes, the whole deal. You know what I think we undersold? I think we undersold Coop's departure. Because just listening to that response,
Bruntz, the lonely comment?
No, when Bruntz said, so Dana is like Coach Rhule's new heavy, but on the offensive side of the ball. Because Coop would say some things sometimes, Bruntz, and I'm like, man, I don't know if you can say that. Like, somebody's spirits just got removed. Their soul just got smoked, right? But he needs an alter ego. And at first, I thought it was going to be Donnie because Donnie's very straightforward and he'll say some things sometimes and you're like, ouch. But it's usually only directed at the offensive line. It's not
Right.
It's not in its totality. I kind of think we undersell the yin and the yang portion of the CEO Coach Rhule personality and kind of what Coach Holgorsen brings to the table versus him losing Coop. I think it's – I don't know why that just hit me, but thank you for your beautiful answer, Bruntz. Because are you vibing with that a little bit?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I think – I don't know. I mean, I think with Dana, I think there's also something to be said for, like, when a guy's been a head coach, he talks differently. Like,
yeah.
Dana Holgorsen at the press conference the other day, like, yes, he's straightforward. He doesn't, he's not going to sugarcoat things. But I mean, he's also been a head coach. Like, he understands. I think you have a different understanding of the way that, like, coaching staffs work whenever you've been a head coach and you've been in that chair. And the thing with Cooper, kind of going back to what you're saying about Cooper, I mean, I think there's probably some truth to that. I mean,
I mean, he had receivers he had offensive receivers terrified. I mean, they would do one-on-ones, and that guy. I think there's something to that, Bruntz.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I don't know. And on that side of the ball, I kind of wonder too, like the way that everything happened timing wise. I mean, he leaves it was like over the July 4th holiday is when it kind of came out that he was leaving. I've kind of wondered if things didn't kind of have time to settle in with him being gone and kind of who was going to be that type of voice on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably tough. I mean, maybe he just doesn't care. But if you're Dana Holgorsen coming in, in the middle of the season, everything's kind of set in motion already. I think it's probably kind of tough to come in and throw your weight around a little bit. I don't think he cares. Like, I think he's going to give you his opinion whether, you want it or not, and it's going to be straightforward. But I think there's probably, his mix of personality, the fact that he's been a head coach, and the credentials that he brings. I mean, I think he can go in there and be pretty honest with the assistant coaches of like, this is what we're going to do. And especially if, this is going to go beyond these 3 games. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, you're kind of setting the table for how things are going to go in 2025 too, and setting the tone there.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Bruntz, as we look at Wisconsin, obviously a program kind of dealing with some instability there themselves. What are you looking for from Nebraska this week? Is it just a continuation of what we saw offensively, and what are you looking for defensively? Because I'll be honest, I left USC with more concerns about the defense than I did the offense.
But they're this
coming out of USC, you were more concerned about the defense.
Yeah, I was personally.
Yeah.
So which side are you looking at kind of more critically going into Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, it's my concern with Nebraska defensively is, do you have everybody kind of pulling in the same direction? I mean, are guys still up for this game? I think are guys willing to, because I think Nebraska is sometimes guilty of this on defense, where if you get hit on a couple big plays, you're kind of thinking of, it feels like it's being thought about later on. And I mean, Wisconsin does not have an offensive coordinator. They're apparently going by committee. So I don't know if that's, you draw straws, if it's like a bingo tumbler, if guys just take turns. I don't know what that means.
Do you think it's like a 1, 2, 3 not it situation? Like with
like a random play, like if somebody's sitting up there, like is AI calling this game?
Bingo tumbler.
Like nose goes, like you did in school, like who has to put away the dishes?
Bruntz,
like nose goes.
Where does one purchase a bingo tumbler?
You can get them on Amazon.
You could probably they could probably find like a
Hockenberg
somewhere here in town, right?
What's up? No, you can get them off Amazon. We bought one in like February.
Okay. Were you calling plays out of it? That would be great.
I was not calling plays out of it. But,
why would you need a bingo tumbler?
To play bingo.
Oh, my God.
What else would you need a bingo tumbler? To call an offense?
What are you, 60? Who's playing bingo?
My parents are older.
Okay.
Old people.
Fine. I don't know, man. I almost walked out just now. I had to catch myself.
Over bingo?
I had to catch myself.
Of all the out-of-pocket stuff I've said to you, you're going to walk out over bingo?
Well, at least it was for your parents. You're just sitting around on a Thursday night during NFL like, hey, Natasha, let's invite some of the crew over. Let's play some bingo.
Bingo.
Fudge.
So my concern is if they're able to hit on a couple of those balls out of the bingo tumbler, like how does Nebraska adjust to that? Like, because there's going to be things that Nebraska's not going to expect, or they're going to have to adapt. I mean, I think that's probably my concern is how do you deal with things that don't look the way that you think they're going to. And you have to be okay with Wisconsin probably fooling you on a couple things or giving you looks that you weren't ready for, and being able to roll with that. So I think it's a confidence thing, and it's also just being able to be malleable and kind of adapt to whatever Wisconsin's going to pull out of its hat for this game. Offensively, I think there's a chance Nebraska's going to be able to find something in the run game. I mean, that's a place that Wisconsin has been gashed. They're not a typical Wisconsin defense in that way. And I thought there were times against USC that Nebraska got into some good looks. They were able to get some things done in the run game. So I'm eager to see what that looks like a little bit more.
I know your board went crazy. Who would the consensus settle on that Coach Holgorsen was talking about as a guy that they quote unquote found?
Yeah, I think the offshore odds are Quinn Clark's on there, Mekhi Nelson. I don't know. I guess part of my thought is like, okay, well, how unknown does this guy need to be? Is it somebody completely off the page? Is it finally putting Jalen Lloyd in the game a little bit more? I mean, I don't know, but I think Clark and Nelson has been the thought.
Leaders in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Offshore, he said. You could just go down to Warhorse, Bruntz.
I don't know if they're taking action on that. They do play at home.
Might be some. They're in the clubhouse. There might be some guys left on the course, but I mean, I think that's what they're looking at.
Hey, speaking of which, am I the only guy that is like interested in whether Bryson DeChambeau can make a hole-in-one hitting a golf ball over his house? Are you watching that at all?
It's on my TikTok every day.
I'm captivated. Bruntz, is that weird? Do I need to grow up?
So what's he doing? I generally try to stay away from anything Bryson DeChambeau does.
He's trying to hit a golf ball with an iron over his house for a hole-in-one.
Okay.
So he's got like a green in his backyard.
He's on like day 10.
And he's got he's got a little driving mat in his front yard, so he's hitting it's like 100-yard shot or something.
Dude, his house is all glass too. I'm like, man.
Yeah, you can't miss one. You can't. You better not shank.
He's got that live money. He's living dangerously.
I wait for him to post it every day like some junkie.
You got
just one shot?
He does.
So he does 10, I think.
So he does the number of shots for what day it is. So it's day 10, so he'll do 10 shots. Day 1, he did 1 shot.
Yeah.
He hasn't made it yet.
I bet he could probably do it in like fewer than 20 days.
So somehow there's a guy that's talking to him. He'll say like short right or dead on 3 feet short because it's a blind shot for DeChambeau.
Wow.
Bruntz,
but it's all glass, right? He can't see through the house.
I think there's an elevation change a little bit, so the hole is below the house. It's a good question, though. It is a good question, Bruntz. Yeah. That's why we like you. Critical thinking.
Yeah. Most unintentionally funny guy I've been around, Bruntz.
I think it's more intentional than you think it is.
Bingo tumblers.
Bruntz, appreciate the time, as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Bruntz.
It's been a pleasure. See you guys.
We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where you can join us tomorrow for our final live breakfast of the year. Get to Eventbrite, sign up, come hang out with us, and see if you can win some tickets and a parking pass to the Nebraska game on Saturday, courtesy of our friends from Tickets for Less. You can see DB. You can see me. You can wave to us. Say, hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello, friends. Get some breakfast, maybe some cocktails as well. It'll be a good time. Make sure you head on out for that.
I got one of my former players from coming in.
They gonna come hang out?
I don't know if he's gonna make it to the breakfast. He's one of the best players I've ever coached.
Nice.
Guy by the name of Cole Bixler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on out, Cole.
First guy I didn't have to take off the field when we went run versus pass, and he played the outside, kind of the outside linebacker-ish spot.
Could cover and run fit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a monster. Ended up going to school. He was a Bearcat.
Northwest Missouri State.
Which, by the way,
great program.
I see. Is there an opening there? Did I see?
Oh, is there?
Yeah, it's been tough the last handful of years.
I'm not dialed in on the D2 football scoop right now.
Oh man, I am. I'm your guy. Nah, I'm just playing.
Before we get to Bet On It, presented by Warhorse Sportsbook, let's get to our friend Jack in Tennessee. What is going on, Jack?
Golden Voice, what's
doing?
up? Well, we're just making
man,
it.
I tell you what, it's 30 degrees here, and these folks are about to freeze to death. But
and you're like, oh, this is balmy. It's 26 back in Nebraska.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I have one quick statement about the game Saturday, and then I got a question for you.
Okay.
A quick statement is this: I think this game boils down to which Nebraska team shows up. If we show up like the last 4 weeks, where they're so tight you couldn't drive a 10-penny nail up their behinds, then they're probably going to lose the game. If they show up and can play loose and have some fun, then I think we'll win. It's just all boils down to us. It has nothing to do with them. My question is, on the 105, are they going to allow teams to have practice squads where if somebody you lose a couple of guys for the season and a couple of guys out for a month or whatever, that you can bring some kids up, and also give kids an opportunity if you're down there and you're really balling, and somebody on the 105 isn't, you can move them down and move you up. Are they going to do that, or is that something that makes too much common sense for the NCAA to do?
Man.
I'm going to hang up and listen, fellas, and good talking to you.
Thanks, Jack. I thought, is he talking about like the constitutional provision? Because you know what that would be? That would be the Great Compromise.
Yeah.
I think the hope is, and it hasn't been said one way or the other, will you be allowed a taxi squad?
Yeah.
That would be super.
Yeah, and they have to do something, because he's right with the injuries and with the dramatically fewer numbers.
It'd be a little bit of a happy medium.
Yeah, whether it's a practice squad, whether it's a taxi squad, however you want to. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know what the final language of the law is going to be, right? Because you're going to find a loophole one way or another. That's kind of just what we do here. So is it going to be written in a way where we see a resurgence of like the old JV teams almost? Like, I don't know. It's probably not going to go that far, but I would imagine, because typically.
I can only imagine.
Mercy me. Typically.
I'll give you a little, Lord have mercy.
That sounds like a you problem. I'm doing fine over here.
No, it's more grace. Grace is what is getting what you don't deserve.
Like university?
Yeah.
I worked there for.
Mercy is not getting what you do deserve.
Lord have mercy. No, I imagine, because
think Jack has a bingo tumbler.
Oh, without a doubt.
No,
that man is a bingo player.
No, he's not.
Oh,
Jack
definitely.
is probably out. I bet you Jack.
I bet he plays poker.
Yeah, well, he said he sat at the table with me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. His voice just gives off poker player.
Or radio.
Well,
golden voice.
I think he sounds like a guy that you'd see at like a casino poker table.
There's one guy that is in Nebraska City that comes every week. He's an Auburn guy because he always wears Auburn gear.
Mm-hmm.
His voice.
Nebraska, not Tigers.
Correct. Home of Chad and Chris Kelsey. Is incredible. Every time he asks a question, I'm like, ooh, let me listen to it. He asks hard questions too. He's the guy that at one point said, man, I was at an Auburn JV game. They made 6 field goals. Can Nebraska make 1? That's how it's kind of I said it to us. Like,
need to recruit that Miller North kicker, man. That dude's got a boot. He does. You know he does.
Yeah, he's got a hammer.
He does. He hit like a 54-yarder casually at a game. I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know he was like that. But speaking of asking hard questions, I'm going to ask you some hard questions here for Bet On It.
That's what you do every week.
Exactly. It's presented by Warhorse
Sportsbook. Slack.
Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. Make sure you get out to the casino. Steelers. They were -4 yesterday when I wrote this down.
Missouri State job is open.
Ooh, that's a good job.
Yeah. Bostwick, Chad's there as the interim. Another Bostwick.
Your Steelers, -4 yesterday. It's bounced between 3.5 and 4 today.
Yeah, I lock it up.
Lock it up.
It's
Steelers.
Lock of the day. No, Browns.
Because the line's too stinky.
No, I'm interested in giving winners again. That's what I do. I give nothing but winners.
You gave Bama and Ohio yesterday.
Yeah, I like when people like send me screenshots of them making their little money.
Yeah.
Goodwill, I didn't do it.
You say, hey, finder's fee, pay a little commission here.
No. I want everybody. Come on, man. That's a stinky piece of cheese. I want everybody to do well.
Wait, so now you're the stinky piece of cheese?
I want everybody to do well.
Yeah. Steelers minus 3.5. Your Browns all day.
That is lock of the day.
That's a stinky line.
Yeah. So the Steelers are 0-7 as underdogs on Thursday nights, number 1. And they're 2-8.
They're not underdogs.
Or as road favorites on Thursday night.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they're 2-8 overall.
Mm.
They're not winning.
Not winning the game or not covering? Or either?
They're not covering.
See, this is one of those.
They're not. I know you're going to.
This is one of those.
Risk analysis. Along came Polly.
Because the Browns suck.
Yeah, they do.
They're so bad.
They're horrible.
They're a very bad football team.
And now Kevin Stefanski is now on the board as a coach that could lose his job.
Because he had to address it this week.
It's incredible
that
Stefanski is there.
Well, I mean, you're 2-8. It's hard not to be there. I know there's other circumstances. I do.
I'm fully prepared. And Coach Limongi's a Cleveland guy, so it's going to be on and crack. He was throwing passes in practice the other day. I was like, man, who you think you are, Brian Sipe? And he literally wanted to hum a 90-mile-an-hour right at me.
It seems more like a Bernie Kosar.
I can't stand the Browns, and somehow they're going to ruin my night.
I can't do it.
God, it smells amazing in here.
I can't do it. I can't go. I can't do it. I can't do the Browns.
Don't do it.
I'm taking the Steelers.
Listen, I'd love to be wrong.
Stinky line or free money? I'm betting on free money.
All right.
That's what I'm doing tonight.
Along came Polly.
Also got Georgia Tech and NC State tonight in college. Georgia Tech is an 8.5-point favorite. I'm going to make sure that hasn't changed since I wrote that down. But I think
you don't bet that dog.
Can I pet that dog?
You cannot pet that dog.
Not if that dog is NC State. I'm not trying to pet that dog. I think I like Georgia Tech here, minus the 8.5. They're at home. I think I like Georgia Tech. I don't think it's just because I like the uniforms, although I do.
You should, if you could only know what was going on in my head. I'm going like the last 2 games, plays, quarterback, just that fast. I'll lay the 8.5.
You taking NC State?
Yeah. No, I'd lay the 8.5.
Oh, lay the 8.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
The frick?
I didn't hear it right, man. Just give me a minute. I'm too busy thinking about playing bingo and.
My dude said.
You can get them off Amazon.
Yeah.
You can.
They're like $62.
See?
You know what number I want you to pull?
What's that?
024.
024? Why is that?
You know what that is? Number of points I want Nebraska's offense to score.
Over 24?
Yeah.
I'll take over 24 points.
24.
You know what number I want you to pull?
What?
Maybe 15, 18, 17.
17's not a big guy. He's
17,
tough.
Yeah. He's not a big guy.
29 big kids. It's embarrassing.
16, 4.
Yeah. Some big kids now.
Hey.
You like how he says kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
How come you can't block with a crap?
You think that's how he asked the question?
Probably. I think he said it to us exactly how he said it to them.
He's like, hey,
4.
At what point did you think this was a good job?
18, 29.
I'm telling you, there's no worse feeling.
You're pretty big kids.
You heard my trauma come out over the making a move on air at Arizona State.
It's only been
do you know how long ago that was?
28 years.
So he was running the tumbler is what he was doing when he was saying that.
It was like 16, 18.
24, man.
If Nebraska scores over 24 points, they're winning?
They need 17 or more to win. That's it.
But you want them to get over 24?
Wisconsin's not scoring 17.
That's what we like to hear. That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. Get to the casinos in Lincoln or Omaha, or check them out at warhorsecasino.com to see all the ways you can play. That's DB. I'm Ravi. We'll be back to wrap up the show next.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. And I want to remind you about our friends over at Game Day Men's Health. It's not just about testosterone replacement therapy, which, of course, they do that as well. But there's a lot of things as you get older that maybe you're not feeling as great. One of those things can be recovery from injuries. I know I do not bounce back the way I used to, DB.
Are you talking to me?
I am talking to you. Get a little injuries sometimes. You know, I'm trying to play tennis, doing some other stuff.
You pulled your brain muscle?
Trying to play bingo.
The brain's been well.
Yeah, he's got bingo elbow.
I got bingo elbow. Yeah, it's not even that tennis elbow; it's that bingo elbow. You got to be careful there. But they've got stuff that can help you recover from injuries as well. Testosterone's not only crucially healing; they've got other therapies as well that can help you bounce back stronger. Make sure you go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com to get your consultation set up. You'll be treated in clinic. It's not a telehealth situation. You've got a real person there helping you create your plan. Make sure you go check them out. DB.
What now?
There's been a lot going on that we haven't got to this week.
Oh, I know.
That I
it's
kind of
almost like Holgerson's presser took over.
It kind of did a little bit, but I'd like to shift a little national focus, if that's okay. College football.
National's good.
I know you've got a special affinity in your heart for North Carolina. You do. I'm not wrong. I'm not making that up.
Okay.
You like the uniforms.
All right.
Big basketball fan. You see the big Ronald Curry guy. Big Ed Cota guy.
Big Ed Cota
I love
guy.
Ed Cota. But
Not
I'm not a Ronald Curry guy? Not even on the football field?
No, he ruined two of their sports at once.
It's hard to do. What about Julius Peppers? Different two-sport
Big
athlete.
J Pep guy.
Were you surprised to hear Mac Brown's like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm coming back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think North Carolina's on that same page?
I'm sure North Carolina was too.
Was a little surprised?
You're not going to run him out, though.
No, but he put him in a bad spot.
Yeah.
That's a difficult place to be.
I was very, very, very surprised.
He's 73 years old.
Yes, he is.
He does not look like a spry 73 like Pete Carroll does.
Yeah, that wasn't the most flattering of pictures.
No,
they
it was
tweeted
not.
out, too.
That they were trying to make him look old there.
Man, I was like, oh, don't do that to Mac.
Yeah.
I got a buddy. He's a diehard Steelers fan too. He loves Mac Brown.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
I think it stemmed from Texas.
Okay.
And I think he just rides
with him.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. That's one of the jobs that apparently will not be open. One that did pop open just this week, the FAU job, which Tom Herman, not even in his finished with a second year when he got fired.
It was that post-game meltdown.
Yeah. And it wasn't going well, obviously, but the meltdown certainly didn't help. And now Ray Lewis is being tied to that job. I don't know if he'll end up actually getting it or not.
So is Frost.
Yeah, which Frost makes sense. Like, that's a place where Frost would make sense.
Yeah.
He's had success in that area before. It's kind of dropping back down a level. Maybe let him get his bearings back again. Like, Frost makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see Ray Lewis. Like, could you be on all the time like that as a coach? Like, if Ray Lewis came in and he wasn't getting you to, like, run through a wall, everybody would be like, oh, what's wrong with Ray?
Yeah.
Is Ray okay?
Like, is there
Ray, are you having a bad day?
Is there a subdued version of Ray that's also effective?
Well, you better have one if you're going to be a coach. You can't rev that high.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Because that would be stressful, and his heart would probably explode at
Just
some
watched
point.
the clip the other day, Ray Lewis. He's talking to a high school team about embracing the moment, and even that was intense. I'm like, dang, these poor kids are probably terrified.
They're just scared of him.
Yeah.
You know, I understand you got to be able to dial it up, but you got to be able to rev it a little bit.
Dial it down, too.
Yeah, you got to be able to rev at a little bit calmer place. But there was – so the Tom Herman thing kind of got me back thinking about – like, it seems like every offseason there's one of these, like, it guys.
Yeah.
Back in 2016, that was Tom Herman when he got hired for the Texas job, right? Coming off of Houston, had been, I believe, at Ohio State as a highly successful offensive coordinator. That obviously didn't work out, although he was better at Texas than people remember. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't as good as Sarkisian's been, but he wasn't terrible. Then
Sark hadn't been as good as Sarkisian's.
No, until
been
last
in
year,
Texas.
right? Until
Yeah.
last year, right?
Yeah.
They were not great. 2017, Scott Frost was that guy. He was that it guy coming off of the Central Florida run. 2018, I feel like it was Manny Diaz when he got that Miami job.
Yeah.
He was kind of the hot it guy.
Yeah.
There's one of these guys every year. And what I kind of noticed going back, a lot of times it does not work out. Like, pretty frequently.
So this is I'm going to let you land the plane here in a second. How bad do you want confirmation on Chadwell?
What you mean that he's a good coach?
As the hot guy that
is he even the hot guy anymore?
It doesn't appear to be.
You know what I mean? Like, he's cooled pretty, like 2 years ago at the Coastal Carolina thing. Like, it felt like he was the hot guy, but he never really got to the level where it was like, this is an inevitability. And I don't know if it's his offense or, he didn't get to Thanos level, right? I don't know if it was his offense. I don't know if it was the place he was doing it. But most of these guys, it felt like they were at a place where it was inevitable that they were going to get a Power 5 job that year. It just depended on where, right? Frost, it was either going to be UCLA or Florida or Nebraska, right? Tom Herman seemed like Texas was the foregone conclusion, but he was going to go somewhere. Manny Diaz was going to go somewhere.
And where's Manny now? Duke?
Yeah, he's at Duke now.
Yeah.
Mike Norvell the next year, 2019, coming out of Memphis. He was going to go somewhere. It ended up being Florida State. Josh Heupel I have as the guy in 2020. 2020 was a weird year. Heupel I don't think ever reached like that degree of like hot it thing.
And he had been let go from as an OC. Was it once or twice?
I think twice. I'd have to double check, but it was he'd had some failure in his career and had kind of worked his way back from that. It seemed like at one point he never really got there because he got fired before he got the big job.
Yep.
But Major Applewhite was kind of a hot guy at one point. Got the Houston job, didn't work out, gets fired, has kind of started to go through the ranks again. But it just kind of struck me.
These guys need Saban to come back.
Yeah, so they can go rehab their their careers.
Hey, will LSU come open?
I think it's way more likely than we.
How crazy
think.
would it be if Florida wins? It will come unhinged in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty unhinged in Baton Rouge anyway.
I mean, he's
seems like he's losing grip of the steering wheel there a little bit.
Yeah, that would be.
But then who? I mean, like if LSU's open, like what are the? If Sarkisian just turned down Bama,
that number has to be extraordinary.
What he's getting paid, or what he's owed, what he's going to be owed. I think I saw a 76.
And you don't mean the spirit of, right?
Yeah, no. Mill.
Wow.
Second to only the GOAT, Jimbo, the buyout GOAT, Jimbo Fisher. You know what's funny is the current second place highest buyout of all time is like 32. But you've got a bunch of these guys that are in the like 50s, 60s, 70s now that number is going to get, that number is going to get crazy again here in a minute. Mm-hmm. But I just sit here and I look at all these, and it kind of goes back to our conversation earlier in the week, right? Where we're talking about, hey, these coordinators and some of these guys that end up in being sort of the hot it coaches, like a lot of them, like it's not the same skill set. And so it reminds me, I kind of want to, I almost want to be dismissive of the Ray Lewis thing, but I'm like, hey, obviously where you've been looking for coaches hasn't really worked a ton. Like there's no proven track record in terms of, well, this is the path you take, and then that will guarantee you success, right? We saw it with Jim McElwain, who just retired from Central Michigan. He went through the process the way he was supposed to, was a coordinator at a Power 5. Then he took a Group of 5 job and did really well. Then he comes to.
There are some coordinators, I think, like that too.
What do you mean?
The one that comes to mind immediately is Josh Gaddis.
Oh, sure. That's like the it coordinator, and then he goes somewhere else and just falls on his face.
And we're talking about years.
He went from Michigan to Miami to now Maryland.
Correct.
And after Michigan, no one's really thought much of him.
Another 3M.
Just not a guy that but he was the dude.
Yep.
When Michigan turned it around, they thought it was the Josh Gaddis thing. They're like, oh man, he brought back the running game, and it's like, maybe it was Jim Harbaugh the whole time.
Yeah, and Harbaugh was like, I don't really want to run the ball like that. I want to run it like this.
And then they won a national championship.
Yeah.
Without Josh Gaddis.
Well, they had to go get Mike Hart for a rental.
Yeah, just I'm pretty sure that had a lot more to do with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I need to figure out where he is.
I don't know where Mike Hart is. But I wonder, because I wonder at the same time, okay, if this is not providing a record of success that we want, but then where else do you look?
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no other system.
And everybody's having that problem. I mean, we're in a critical phase in high school too, where some of these coaches are going to phase out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure who's going to take these jobs.
Who the young guys coming up are? Yeah. Well, especially high schools are hard jobs.
Oh, I'm sure some of these ADs are thinking about it.
I mean, you better be. You better be thinking about it.
It's like, oh God, we hire these guys that aren't in the buildings, and you've seen some of that now. But coaching it's at every level.
It's weird.
I mean, we just talked about Bostwick being the interim at Northwest Missouri State. It's every level.
It's weird at high school because there's a part of me that's like, maybe it is easier. Like if I was still a high school coach in high school, I'd probably want to be in the building so I can be connected to the guys, right?
100%.
Especially if I was the head coach,
way to go,
right?
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that goes, hey, teaching's a pretty stressful job too. Maybe I'd like to have a less stressful job as my day job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because a lot of these coaches that come in for interviews and stuff, it's all about, well, what am I going to do in the building? That stuff matters now.
Oh, 100%. It really does. But I weigh, okay, coaching high school or coaching at any level, stressful job, right? Teaching, stressful job. You want to
limit your stress?
Do I want to stack those? I get some people are built differently than I am, and that's more power to them. I couldn't even hack the teaching part for sure. But man,
you don't even like kids.
Well, nah, not really.
But you like bingo.
Not a lot of kids playing bingo.
24.
DB wants 024, trying to get that over. We'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you join us for a live breakfast here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.